Well, hello, folks. Here for another guitar lesson, and this one's kind of special. All right, I'm going to be teaching a song that was taught to me by the late Etta Baker of Morganton, North Carolina. And if you're just tuning in here, we got a lot of people in the room. Hey there, Will. Nice to see you. You can always right up there. You can download the tab. All right, there's a link right up there that you can download the tab. It's tinyurl.com/. Toby Walker tab. You don't have to put Toby Walker tab in caps. That's just the way it came out. But tinyurl.com/, all right, and Toby Walker tab. And that's going to take you to a web page on my guitar lesson site. And about halfway down, you're going to see where you can download your PDF tab for today's lesson. And while you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit about Etta Baker. All right. I had first heard of Etta Baker in a particular book called Fingerpicking Styles for Guitar. This book right here. I picked up this book a long time ago. Probably I was about 16 or so when I picked the book up. And I want to show you inside the book here is a picture of Etta Baker. All right, let's make sure this just comes out just all right like this. There's a picture of Etta Baker. I'll get that a little close here for you. And Etta Baker is holding a really cool brown Gibson electric guitar with a really cool amplifier there. All right, and that's she's standing in front of her house. So when this book came out, I was learning a bunch of songs from it, but I really wanted to meet Etta Baker. So I knew she lived in Morganton, North Carolina, but I didn't have the phone number. So what I did was I called information. And usually with information at that time, this was 1993, they were using, like they use today, these computerized robots. And I got on the phone and I dialed information. And I said, yeah, I wanted to Morganton, North Carolina. I think that's what I said. And rather than getting like this computerized voice that asked the name, the last name of the person, I literally heard on the other end of the line, hello. I was like, is this information? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm looking for Etta Baker in Morganton, North Carolina. Do you have her phone? Well, I do have her phone number, but she's at her sister's now. I'm going to connect you. And she connected me with Etta Baker's sister. I talked to Etta Baker's sister for a little while. I told her I'm Toby Walker. At that time, I lived in New York, and I wanted to go visit or see if her sister would come to the phone. And she put Etta on, and I introduced myself, and I said, I'd love to come down and take some guitar lessons from you. And she said, sure. So a couple of weeks later, I drove down to North Carolina, Morganton, North Carolina, and I met Etta Baker in person. She was a remarkable lady. She was more than happy to teach me some songs, and of which I'm going to be showing you the Knoxville Rag. That's what she taught me. And we were sitting, we were walking around her yard at first because she was a gardener. She just planted everything around her house. And she had all around her house these herbs. And she knew the names of all the herb plants. And she would say to me, Nacy, now that one's a lemon herb, and it's good for colds. You know, you make a tea out of it and you drink it, but make sure you put some whiskey in it because that'll really help your cold. It's literally what she told me. We went out to her garden and we picked some vegetables because I had brought with me one of those Jack LaLanne centrifugal force type juicers. And I said, we're going to make up she said, look at that. What is that? And I told her what it's going to be. And I said, let's go get some stuff from your gardens. We got some cucumbers and carrots and a bunch of other things. And I'm putting it into a juicer in her kitchen. And then when I got it all ready, I went to hand it to her. But you see, it was so hot outside and the glass was sweaty, it slipped out of my hands and fell on the floor. Luckily, it was a wooden floor and the glass didn't break, but there was juice all over the place. And we got right around to cleaning it up, and I made her another glass, and she just loved it. So we went outside for a second, and she showed me her roof. Now get this, she was pretty elderly at that time, and she told me that she had to shingle her own roof. That's what she had to do. She had to put some shingles up over a patch of it. And she said she didn't have a ladder. So she got a whole bunch of wood and she nailed together her own ladder. And then 4 or 5 shingles at a time, she would climb up on the roof and nail them down and come back down and get some more. And she showed me, I took a picture of it. I have it on my website of that roof. Just pretty remarkable. Now, the interesting thing is, you saw earlier with that picture of her holding an old Gibson electric guitar, like a butterscotch solid body electric. And the thing is, maybe, I don't know, somebody can identify this guitar. I know we have a whole bunch of guitar freaks out there. Let's see if I get that up nice and close here. If anybody can figure out what guitar that is, okay, that's the guitar that Etta Baker played. All right, it was a butterscotch solid body Gibson guitar. And I asked her, I said, boy, and I showed her the picture in the book, and she said to me, well, I still have it. And she went in the bedroom and she brought out her Gibson guitar. I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, I hope you've downloaded the tab again. Hey, John, how are you? I hope you downloaded the tab for the lesson. Again, the link is right up there. And I'm giving, and then I have a donation link. I would really appreciate if you give me any donations. I tell people this all the time, then we'll get to the lesson. For $5 donation, that's it. Not only you already have the tab, but I will make a YouTube video of this entire session, and I'll send it to you. That's for $5. For $15, you'll get that. Plus, you're going to get this CD. This is one of my CDs. It's called Shake Shake Mama. It's got a lot of really cool blues songs on it, and ragtime songs, Traveling Riverside Blues, Keep on Truckin', Tootie Blues by Blind Blake, Broke Down Engine, She's 19 Years Old, Cigarette Blues by Bo Carter. There's a whole bunch on here. It's MP3s, but there's also a guitar lesson that comes with this, video guitar lessons. So that's for $15. And then I think just for $20, you're going to get all that. Plus, there's a set of lessons that I'm going to be giving away for a $20 donation. It's called Big Licks from the Big Names. And I've taken really cool licks from people like David Bromberg and Jorma Kaukonen, Keith Richards, David Bromberg, Robert Johnson, Blind Boy Fuller. And it's a whole series of lessons, and it's called Big Licks from the Big Names, and I'll send that to you. That's for a $20 donation. So anyway, let's get to taking a look at this. I hope you take your tab out because we're going to study the Knoxville Rag by Etta Baker. I'm going to play it straight through, and then we're going to get into it. It's a short little piece. You can sort of kind of play it over and over again if you'd like. But that's Etta Baker's Knoxville Rag. And I asked her, I said, why'd she name it the Knoxville Rag? And she said that, at one point, I think the World's Fair was in Knoxville, and she had gone there, and she said she was sleeping in her hotel, and she had a dream, and in the dream she heard that song. I think that's I think that's pretty damn cool. For her to turn around and tell me that little story of the Knoxville Wreck. Not too many people know that story. Nazareth, you love that tune. John, it might be a melody maker that she had. Maybe a melody maker. But she brought it out from her bedroom, the same guitar. It was like, I think it was from the 50s, a 50 something melody maker. I don't know. But yeah, it's an amazing, amazing guitar. So let's take out your tab. And again, you can download that with tinyurl.com/Toby Walker tab. And you can download the tab for this lesson. So let's get into it. It's in the key of C, and Etta Baker played very much in the Piedmont style, where she was keeping a lot of alternating bass going on with her right-hand thumb. It's a style that was pretty predominant all the way from Washington, D.C., all the way down into northern Florida and probably beyond. But it was really dominant in that one little section of the eastern United States. So we'll take a look at this. Now, it's starting out, the very first measure, it starts out with a C chord with the high G note being played. And what I'm doing is I'm coming down with my bass on the 5th string, and then coming down with my bass on the 4th string while grabbing the 1st and 2nd string with my 1st and 2nd fingers. So we have... Now we're going to go right up into this diminished chord. This is a C diminished chord. And what you're going to do is you're going to come down on your bass on the 4th string, then come up on your fingers on the 1st and 2nd string, and then down on that 3rd string. So we have... So all together we have this. Now we go back. This is our 2nd measure. I'll play the 2nd measure so you hear it. So we have just the open 1st string and the 5th string, then bring in the 2nd string, like that. Now the 3rd measure is just like the 1st measure that we played. So we have... And now what we're going to do is our last measure. We're going to be playing an A chord, but we're going to be barring it with our first finger on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. And the way we're going to do this is I'll play that. Now this is a little tricky. You're going to hit the open 1st and 5th string. You're going to hit the 2nd string, but at the 1st fret. And you're going to slide that to the 2nd fret. And as you slide it to the 2nd fret, your thumb is going to come down and hit the 4th string. That's that little lick. So all together we have... Then you come up with your finger on the 3rd string. So we have... And finally, our last 2 bass notes. So that last measure is... So that whole first line is going to sound like this. Now, from here, this is what Etta did. She took her finger and she slid it all the way up to the 7th fret, and she put her finger down on the C note here, making a D7 chord. Now what she did was we're going to grab, I'll play this measure so you can hear it, and then we'll talk about it. So I'm grabbing the fifth string, the second and third string with my fingers. I'm going to strike all three, then bring my thumb down on the fourth string and hit that first string. So you have, and then two bass notes. So now we're going to be going into a G chord, but the way we're going to play this G chord, at least this is the way that Etta played it. She put her thumb up on the sixth string, and her fingers were working the other strings. This is going to sound like this. So let's take a look at this. We're starting off with two G notes, pinching both of those. Now I'm going to add my third finger to the A note on the first string and pinch the fourth string. Now I'm going to pick those fingers up. It's important you pick those fingers up. Put down your second finger on the E flat note on the second string and pinch the sixth and second string. Then pick up your finger and hit the open first string. So we have, then thumb comes down on the fourth string. And then immediately go back to your C chord and grab the second string. So we have, and when I hit that little E flat note, I'm kind of like pushing it up just a little bit. Get a little, and then follow it with two more bass notes. Or three, four. So we have, so I'm going to play that whole first part again for you. Now what's nice, it's called a rag, and it's different than the blues in that it has a little diminished chord in it. And if you notice in that second line, we're going from a D7 to a G back to the C. That is called a 2-5-1 progression. A 2-5-1 progression means it's using the second chord in the key of C, the fifth chord in the key of C, and then back to the C. If you went up your alphabet, C, D, E, F, G, C, D, there's the second chord or the second note, and then the fifth would be G. So we have this, we have right. Right. So we have that like that. We have that D to the G, back to the C. So you can do all kinds of little variations against this. Against that little D7 chord if you'd like. I mean, you can do little things. That's what I was doing then. So there's little variations you could play against this whole little D7 chord in it. And little variations against. You can do lots of little variations using all these little notes in here. So we do that first part, and we do that a couple of times. Now we're going to go into the second part. And again, this is so typical of a ragtime progression and really typical of an old jazz progression, because now we're going to be going into the E chord, the A chord, the D chord, and the G chord, meaning that the chord progression now is going to be going from the third to the 6 to the 2 to the 5 and back to the 1. Let's see, William, seems more like a D minor 7 than a D7. No, it is. It would be a D7, Will, because we're getting the F sharp note in there. We're getting that F sharp in there. Otherwise, it would sound like, okay. The D minor 7, you're thinking of the proper notes in a key of C, okay? But in jazz and ragtime, instead of using just the typical D minor 7, G7, C, which is theoretically, the way they do it, in old jazz and in ragtime, a lot of times they used, instead of just the D minor 7, they use the D7. So we still call that a 2-5-1, but it's just, you mean not what you're playing? Yes, yeah, that's what I'm explaining. So the D7 is still called a 2-5-1. Okay, so that's the only difference. I hope that clears it up. Okay, and the same thing is when we go into this next part, when we're going into, harmonically, the third chord in the key of C would be an E minor. But in old jazz, a lot of times they use the seventh chords, the dominant seventh chords. So we have an E7. So there's an E7 that we're going to be doing. So let's take a look at that E7. This E7 is really good to know. Doc Watson used it in Deep River Blues. He used that one, and it's a nice little chord. So let's get this chord. Pinky is on the high B note. First finger's on the second string, E note. Third finger is on the seventh, the D note. And the second finger is on the third, the G sharp note. My alternating bass is going to go between the sixth and the fourth string. I'll play the first measure. This would be a third line down, first measure. So I'm going back and forth between the sixth and the fourth string and pinching the first finger on the second string, and my middle finger takes care of the second. Now in the second measure here in that line, we just syncopate it a little bit. So altogether, those two measures with an E7 would sound like this. Now we're going to go into the A chord, and you're going to play it like an F chord, like an F shape. And here I'll play these next two measures for you. At this point, Etta is taking her fifth and fourth string together. So we have this. So here we're just adding our pinky onto that high B note. And then we come in and we grab the second and third string together and follow it up with our bass. Now I'll play that line for you. So you get to, yeah. Now we're going to go into a D7. We're going to be playing it like we would normally play a C7 chord, but 2 frets higher. And here, very similar syncopations going on with the D7. So we have... Now, before I get into that little F sharp, let me play that nice and slow for you. First measure of the D7. again, back and forth between the 5th and 4th string while you're syncopating the 2nd and 3rd. And now my 2nd finger's on that 2nd string, and my 1st finger's going to take care of the 3rd string. So there's that 2nd measure. And after you hit that 3rd bass note here, at this point you're going to take your thumb and bring it to the F sharp, and then move it up again to the G. So we have, so this is a next couple of measures. It's a G chord, but it's implied. We're not actually playing a whole G chord, but we are playing it in little bits. So here's the lick. And when Etta did that little lick, I just thought it was so cute. So let's slow that down because the right hand part is a little tricky here. Okay? Thumb, thumb. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my thumb down. I'm really trying to get a lot of down up motion with my thumb and my 1st finger. So we have this. There's that first little lick is down and up with your thumb and finger, B flat to the B. And here's the tricky part. You got to come down with your thumb on that 1st string. And then come up with your index finger on the 3rd string. So we have this. That's the little lick. And then I do that again and again. And then I hit the open string. So we have this all together in those last 2 measures on the 4th line. And then hit the 1st string at the very end. So it's a tricky little move with your thumb and 1st finger, but once you get it, it's pretty cool. It just rolls right along in there. And then we get into the last part. This is the bottom 2 lines here, and you should recognize them by now. So right back to that beginning part, but we end it like this. So I'll play that last line so you can hear the ending. It's also interesting because it does fall into the category of like an old-time jazz sound. Because if you think about it, you have the A part, and then you repeat that part again. And then it goes to the B part. And then it goes back to the A part again. So it's this A, B, A structure, which is so common, so common in a lot of old jazz tunes and also ragtime tunes, as you can see here. It's a cool little tune to learn. It's a lot of fun to play. And I may just add the last thing that I wanted to tell you is that remember I said that I made that mix, that drink for Etta Baker, and I dropped it on the floor, right? Crazy. At any rate, what I did was 4 or 5 years later, I had a good friend of mine, Lucy, that lives down in South Carolina, and she's also a friend of Etta. And she got a hold of me, and she said that Etta was in the hospital. So she gave me the phone number, and I called the hospital, and I got the room. And I said, Etta, yeah, how are you? And she says, oh, I'm doing better. And I said, well, you may not remember me. My name's Toby Walker. And there was a slight pause over the phone, a little silence. And she said, yeah, you're the boy that dropped the vegetable juice on my floor. So that's how she remembered me. It's an interesting way of being remembered. At any rate, folks, it's a short lesson today, but it's a cool lesson. You know, you get to play this Knoxville Rag. It's a great tune to play. And again, if you can donate anything to me, the donation link is right up there. It's at the top. It's tinyurl.com / Toby Walker. And again, for $5, you're going to get the YouTube session, so you won't miss a thing with the ragtime and the stories, the instruction. For $15, you'll get that plus my the MP3 downloads of one of my albums called Shake Shake Mom. It's got like 16 tunes on it. It's got a lot of cool tunes that you'll know. Midnight Special is on here. Traveling Riverside Blues. Shake Shake Mama by by Mans Lipscomb. A bunch of tunes on here. Can't Be Satisfied by Muddy Waters is all on here. For an extra $5, I'm also going to be throwing in a whole set of lessons. It's called Big Licks from the Big Names. Like if you click on the donation link, okay, you'll see a picture of this. And if you click on that, you'll see all the descriptions of what all the lessons are. There's licks that I took out of Keith Richards and Robert Johnson, Gary Davis, Blind Boy Fuller, David Bromberg, Jorma Kaukonen, Eric Clapton. And not only do I show you how these licks are played, I show you how you can put them into your own playing. There's a lot of cool licks in here. You didn't think Keith Richards played acoustic. Well, maybe you did. But there's one tune that he does on this album that it's all acoustic, and it's beautiful. And his solo is beautiful. And I got the whole thing tabbed out, and I teach the whole thing with video instructional videos, just like this. That's how I teach it. Finally, the last thing, folks, and I have a website called the Premier Membership Site. And every lesson that I've ever put out, including Big Licks and a ton of others, is all on that site. And it's basically you have access to all of these things for an entire year. Normally, I charge $125 for that for a year, but only for these Twitch sessions, these streaming lessons. I'm going to give that to you for a $60 donation. So that's less than half of what it costs. And trust me, there's so many lessons on there. There's slide guitar lessons, playing lead guitar lessons. There's all kinds of cool lessons on there. So I hope that I hope you got a lot out of this, the tune Knoxville Rag. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a whole concert. And I'm going to be featuring all instrumentals, a few of which you've never heard before. So that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope you can come to that. Every Thursday, this is what I do. I teach a lesson. I give you the tab, and in the evening, I do a whole concert for you. Because Lord knows I'm not gigging out like a lot of musicians aren't. At least, especially in the wintertime, because it's like way too cold to do some outdoor gigs. So streaming gigs are the only things that we do these days. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoy the lesson. Hope you can come back at 7 p.m. For the concert. And I will see you. If anyone has any questions, Christian, they see Christian's from France. He comes all the way out from France. Howie, thanks a lot. Last thing, I forgot all about this. On my website, TobyWalkersLessons.com, I am going to be conducting a workshop this weekend. It's a virtual workshop. There's 2 classes that I offer. One is called Warm-Ups for the ragtime and blues guitar player. It's when you first sit down with your guitar and you pick it up and you want to warm up. Instead of doing scales or things like that, I'm going to show you some really, really great exercises that come out of actual songs. And these will warm your fingers up, and you can actually use these to your advantage. So that's a workshop this weekend. And I also, the other workshop I'm doing is Adventures in Drop D Tuning, where I'm going to be teaching a few songs to you, showing you drop D tuning. Should be a whole lot of fun. These workshops are available on my website, which is just tobywalkerslessons.com. You'll see it, and you could sign up for the classes are 90 minutes, and it's only $35. That's it. And you could pick and choose whether you want to do it on a Saturday or a Sunday, or even both. You can take one lesson there, one lesson there, this weekend coming up. And this is the last, Christian, highly recommended. Thanks. You learned a lot. Yeah, thanks, Christian. These workshops, and this is the final day where people can register, because after that, registration's closed, and we're going to be getting into the whole thing. So anyway, thanks a lot, folks. Hope you had a really good time, and I hope to see you a little later on. All's well here. Stay safe. Please stay safe, and then and these days, because it's really kind of crazy. Okay, all right, folks. Take care now.